Okay, let's unpack this. We have all been there. I don't know, a Tuesday, you wake up, you pour that first cup of coffee, and you feel capable.
Right.
You have that little surge of, optimism that says, today is the day I am going to conquer the world, or at the very least, my inbox. You sit down, you crack your knuckles, and you're just ready to go.
And then reality hits, like a ton of bricks.
Exactly. You look at your to-do list, assuming you even wrote one down, which is a whole other issue, and it's a mile long. Or worse, you make the fatal mistake of checking your email first.
Oh, the classic mistake.
And suddenly, it's 2:00 p.m., you've been frantically busy for 5 hours, you're sweating, your heart rate is up, you've attended 3 meetings and replying to, 40 emails. But if someone put a gun to your head and asked, what did you actually build, create, or finish today? You've got nothing.
You've got absolutely nothing. And that is the defining struggle of the modern knowledge worker. It's what we call the sensation of movement without progress.
The treadmill.
It's the treadmill. You are running at sprint speed, but the scenery never, ever changes.
That has such a depressing image, but it's so accurate. You're exhausted, but you're in the exact same spot you were at 9:00 a.m. So, for this deep dive, we are tackling this head on.
Good.
But I want to be clear right off the bat. We are not here to give you 10 tips to tidy your desk or tell you to color code your folders. We are looking at a title fight. A heavyweight boxing match between the two absolute giants of productivity philosophy.
It really is a clash of fundamental philosophies. This isn't about stationery or which app you download. This is a debate about how you view your time, your energy, and frankly, your own psychology. It's about how you navigate chaos.
So in the red corner, we have the heavyweight champion of structure, the architect of the day, time blocking.
The old favorite.
And in the blue corner, we have the challenger, the master of flow, the visualizer, personal Kanban.
And our mission here, it's critical. We aren't here to just tell you to buy a calendar or a pack of sticky notes. The goal is to move you from being busy, which is just a state of existence, to being effective, which is a state of output.
Busy versus effective. I like that.
And we've combed through a massive stack of articles, research summaries, and methodological breakdowns to synthesize this. We are comparing structured scheduling against, these visual flow systems to see what actually works for the human brain.
Okay, so before the bell rings, let's introduce the fighters properly.
Yep.
Let's define them, because I think people could throw these terms around a bit loosely.
They do.
First up, time blocking. When we say that, what are we actually talking about? Is it just, using a calendar?
It's using a calendar, but it's using it aggressively. Think of time blocking as the architect approach. It is essentially creating a zero-sum budget for your day.
A budget for your time.
Exactly. Just like you wouldn't spend money you don't have, you can't spend time you don't have. Time blocking is the practice of scheduling specific blocks of time for specific tasks. You aren't just saying, I need to write the Q3 report. You are saying, I will write the Q3 report from 9:00 a.m. to 11:00 a.m.
Right, so it's giving the task a literal home. It lives at an address on your calendar.
Precisely. It's definitive.
Yeah.
It turns a vague intention into a concrete commitment.
Okay, and then we have personal Kanban. To me, this always feels a bit more, arts and crafts. I picture Silicon Valley startups with walls just covered in Post-it notes.
It is definitely more tactile, and you're not wrong about that image, but don't let the sticky notes fool you. Personal Kanban is what we're calling the visualizer approach. It's based on a board, physical or digital, where you have columns. Usually they're to do, in progress, and done.
The classic 3.
The classic 3. And you write your tasks on cards, and you physically move them across the board as you work. The whole point is about tracking the flow of work rather than the time of work.
So if we boil it down, one is about when the work happens, and the other is about what is happening and where it is in the process.
That is a great way to put it. One controls the clock, the other controls the cue.
All right, I think we're ready. Let's get into the ring with the first contender. Let's go deep on time blocking. We're calling this the calendar as territory.
And territory is exactly the right word, because when you block time on a calendar, you are staking a claim. You are planting a flag. You are saying, this space is mine.
So walk us through the core mechanism here. We touched on it, but how does it actually look in practice? Because I've tried this, and usually my calendar just ends up looking like a terrifying game of Tetris that I am losing badly.
Well, the mechanism itself is simple, but it has to be ruthless to actually work. You take your to-do list, which for most people is just this infinite scroll of anxiety.
Yes, it is.
A list of everything they've ever thought of doing, and you have to assign every single important item a specific slot on your calendar. You are literally dividing your day into fixed blocks. 9.00 11.00 is for the report. 11.0000 is for email. 12.000 to 12.3 is lunch. And you can't skip lunch.
So it mimics a financial budget, but with minutes and hours instead of dollars and cents.
It does, and that's why it's painful at first. It forces you to acknowledge that your day is a finite container. You only have 24 hours. A lot of that is sleeping and eating. You might only have, 6 to 8 hours of productive time?
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky. And if the blocks don't fit, you literally can't do the work. It stops you from lying to yourself about how much you can get done in a day.
That is painfully real. I think we all lie to ourselves about that. I always wake up thinking I can do 50 things, and by the end of the day, I've done maybe 3, and one of them was make coffee.
Right. And you feel like a failure. Time blocking aims to prevent that feeling by setting realistic expectations from the start.
But let's talk about the psychology here. Why does this work? Because on the surface, it sounds incredibly restrictive. It sounds like being in a self-imposed prison. Why is this considered a productivity hack and not just torture?
It's actually liberating because of a concept called decision fatigue.
Oh, I have this. By dinner time, do not ask me what I want to eat. I cannot make another choice. I will eat cereal and be perfectly happy about it.
Exactly. And that is a real biological phenomenon. Your brain has a limited supply of what psychologists call executive function. That's the fuel used to make decisions, to weigh options, to prioritize.
It's a finite resource.
A very finite resource. Every time you finish a task and look at a long, unorganized to-do list to pick the next one, you are burning that fuel. You are asking, what should I do now? Is this important? Do I have the energy for this? Do I have enough time before my next meeting?
And doing that 10 or 20 times a day exhausts you before you've even done the actual work.
Precisely. The work itself might be easy, but the choosing is hard. When 10:00 a.m. hits on a time block schedule, you don't have to ask anything. The calendar has already decided for you.
So you're outsourcing your willpower to your past self.
You are. You made the hard decision yesterday when you were fresh and planning your week. So today, you don't have to decide. You just execute. All that energy you would have spent deliberating can go directly into the task itself.
That connects to something we saw in the Grok source, where they were referencing Cal Newport's philosophy on deep work, this idea of creating a fortress around your attention.
Deep work is absolutely essential here. In our current economy, the ability to focus without distraction for a sustained period is, I would argue, a superpower. It's becoming increasingly rare.
And increasingly valuable.
And valuable. Time blocking allows you to defend that time. If you block out 2 hours for deep work, you are signaling to yourself, and often to your colleagues if you have a shared calendar, that this time is sacred. It's a do not disturb sign for your brain.
It promotes single tasking.
It forces single tasking. You aren't tab switching. You aren't checking your phone. You are in the block. It's a fortress against the shallow, administrative busy work that tends to eat up our days if we aren't careful.
I hear that. But I have to play devil's advocate here for a second. I've tried setting these mini deadlines. I block out 2.0 p.m. to 3.0 p.m. for deep work on Project X. Then 2.0 p.m. rolls around. I look at the calendar and I think, I'm the boss of me. I'm tired. I'll just move it to 4.0. Isn't a self-imposed deadline inherently, toothless?
That is the soft deadline fallacy, and it's why most beginners fail at this method. You're absolutely right. They treat the calendar as a friendly suggestion rather than a contract.
So how do you make it a contract?
Well, the research suggests that to make time blocking really work, you need to introduce what behaviorists call a commitment device.
A commitment device? What, like I have to pay a fine if I don't do it?
Sometimes, yes. There are apps for that, but usually it's social. If that 2.00 p.m. block is just for you, you'll probably skip it if you're not feeling motivated. But if you tell your team, I'm going dark from 2.0 to 3.0 to finish the brief, and I will send you the draft at 3.005, suddenly that block has teeth.
Okay. You've externalized the consequence. Now other people are expecting something.
Exactly. You've made a promise. Your reputation is on the line, even in a small way. That's a much more powerful motivator than your own fickle willpower.
So you're saying time blocking only really works if you attach real-world stakes to the blocks?
To get the most out of it, yes. Otherwise, you're just playing that game of Tetris with your schedule. It requires a layer of external accountability to stop you from negotiating with yourself when you feel a bit tired or uninspired.
It also seems like it would really help with what you could call time blindness. I'm terrible at this. I'll think, I'll just quick update this presentation. 3 hours later, I'm still formatting slides and choosing fonts.
It is the ultimate cure for time blindness. If you block 1 hour for that task and it takes you 3, the entire rest of your day is broken. It's a cascade failure.
The dominoes fall.
They fall hard. You have to move everything else. You learn very, very quickly exactly how long things actually take, not how long you wish they would take. You can't hide from the math. It's right there in front of you in brightly colored blocks.
So who is this for? Who is the ideal architect who thrives in this kind of system?
Well, based on the profiles we've looked at, this is best for roles with predictable routines. Executives, for example, who live and die by their calendar anyway. But it's also crucial for what we call makers, writers, coders, designers, researchers.
The people who need to go into the cave and not be disturbed.
Right. If you need 3 hours of uninterrupted silence to code a new feature, you have to block that time, or it will get eaten alive by a dozen tiny meetings and quick questions.
And students, I imagine.
Oh, it's fantastic for students or anyone who needs that external discipline to just start. The hardest part of writing a paper is opening the blank document. If your calendar says, write history paper 1:03 p.m., it gives you that little push to begin.
Okay, but we have to talk about the dark side, the trap. Because I've had days where I time block perfectly and then it falls apart spectacularly. We're calling this the house of cards problem.
It is the single biggest weakness of time blocking, and that word is rigidity. You build this perfect, beautiful schedule. It's a work of art. All the pieces fit. And then reality intrudes.
Your kid gets sick.
Your kid gets sick. You get an urgent email from a client. Your boss calls you into an unscheduled meeting. Or a meeting that was supposed to be 30 minutes runs for 45.
And the dominoes start falling. The whole thing just crumbles.
The whole schedule collapses because you can't simply shift everything down 15 minutes. You have hard stops later in the day, maybe a doctor's appointment or a client call at 4:08 p.m. So now the block you missed is just, it's gone. Poof. This leads to immense frustration. You feel like you've lost control of your day all over again.
It's the falling behind spiral.
Yeah.
If I miss that 9:00 a.m. block, suddenly I feel like I've failed the whole day.
Yes.
And my brain thinks, well, the schedule is ruined. Might as well give up and watch YouTube for an hour.
It can be incredibly demoralizing. It requires a lot of resilience and mental agility to scrap the plan and rebuild it on the fly, which kind of defeats the purpose of planning in the first place.
And there's another trap, right? The creativity issue.
The creativity limitations, yes. Sometimes the muse does not strike at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday just because your calendar says, be creative now.
That's a terrible manager, the muse.
It is. Or maybe you get into a fantastic creative flow at 10:55, you're really in the zone, but your calendar alarm goes off and says, stop, it's time for email.
So you're cutting off your own brilliance because the calendar says so. That feels completely counterproductive.
It can be. If you adhere to it too strictly, it can stifle that natural ebb and flow of creative energy. It treats you like a machine that can just turn on and off on command. And, humans aren't always built that way.
Okay, so that's time blocking. Powerful, disciplined, a real cage for your focus, but brittle. It can break under pressure. Let's bring in the challenger. Deep dive part 2. Personal Kanban. The visual flow.
This is a completely different animal. It comes from a totally different lineage of thought, really. It's not about the clock at all.
So walk us through the mechanism again. We've got a board, we've got sticky notes. How does it work beyond just moving paper around?
At its heart, it's about making your work visible and managing its flow through a process. The classic setup is those 3 columns: to do, which is your backlog of all possible tasks, then in progress, what you are actively doing right now, and done, the victory column.
Simple enough. I can do that on a napkin.
You could. But here's the crucial detail from our sources that most people miss, and this is the entire secret sauce. If you just make columns, you just have a fancy to-do list. The magic of Kanban comes from WIP limits.
WIP. Say more about that.
Work in progress. The core rule of Kanban, and this comes straight from lean manufacturing from Toyota in the 1950s, is that you intentionally limit how many things can be in the in-progress column at any one time.
So you cap it.
You cap it. Maybe you set the limit to 3 or 2 or even 1 if you're a purist. You literally cannot pull a 4th sticky note into that column until you move one of the existing ones to done.
Oh, I like that. It's an anti-hoarding mechanism for your brain. It stops you from starting a million things.
It stops the overload. Most of us, especially ambitious people, we start 10 things and we finish none. We are busy with 10 projects, but effective at 0. Kanban forces you to finish. It's a pull system, not a push system. You pull new work in only when you have the capacity.
Let's dig into the brain chemistry here. It sounds silly to say that moving a square of yellow paper 3 inches to the right is satisfying, But it really, truly is. Why does that feel so good?
It's all about the feedback loop. In the sources we looked at, there's a heavy emphasis on how the human brain processes abstract versus concrete labor. If you're a bricklayer, you look behind you at 5:00 p.m. and you see a wall, you see your progress.
Right. The wall is higher than it was at 9:00 a.m. It physically exists in the world.
But if you're a strategy consultant or a scriptwriter or a software developer, you might work for 12 hours and have nothing to show for it but a few sent emails and a slightly hotter laptop. Your brain panics. It thinks, did we survive today? Did we accomplish anything that ensures our future safety? It's a very primal thing.
A hamster on a wheel feeling. You ran all day but didn't go anywhere.
Exactly. Personal Kanban hacks that visual cortex. When you physically move that ticket from in progress to done, you are giving your brain that bricklayer moment.
I built a wall moment.
Yes. It releases a little hit of dopamine. It closes what psychologists call the open loop in your memory.
Open loop. What's that?
It refers to something called the Zeigarnik effect. This is a psychological phenomenon where our brains remember incomplete or interrupted tasks much, much better than completed ones. It's why you wake up at 3 a.m. worrying about that one email you didn't send, not the 50 you did.
My brain loves doing that. It's its favorite hobby.
That's an open loop. It's a task that your brain has flagged as unfinished, and it creates a low-level, persistent anxiety. When you move a task to done on a Kanban board, you are visually signaling to your brain, loop closed, you can stop worrying about this now, you can release it. It reduces the cognitive load significantly.
And it seems so much more adaptable than the rigid calendar.
Oh, significantly. Unlike the calendar, Kanban embraces chaos. It expects it. If your boss calls with a new urgent priority, you don't have to erase your whole day and start over. You just write a new sticky note and put it at the top of the to-do column.
But, and here's the key, I'm guessing, you have to respect the WIP limit.
You must respect the WIP limit. If your limit is 3 and you are already working on 3 things, and your boss gives you a 4th urgent task, you have to have a conversation. You have to decide which of the current 3 goes back to the backlog.
Oh, that's powerful. It forces a trade-off conversation. It's not just add another plate to spin. It's which plate do you want me to drop so I can catch this new one?
Exactly. It makes the capacity constraints visible to everyone. It makes the cost of new work explicit. The system flows around the interruption rather than breaking because of it.
So who is the ideal user here? We called this person the air traffic controller. Who is that?
This is for reactive jobs. If you work in IT support, or you're a project manager or an ER doctor, your day is a series of incoming problems. Your priorities shift every hour, sometimes every minute. Time blocking will drive you crazy in that environment. You need Kanban.
It's also for the visual thinkers, right?
Yes. If you're the kind of person who needs to see everything on one page to feel safe and in control, Kanban is your best friend. It gets the overwhelming mess out of your head and onto the wall where you can manage it.
And what about multitaskers?
Well, for people who feel like they are multitasking, it calms that anxiety by showing them all their in-flight projects, but the WIP limit gently forces them to single task, even if they don't realize it.
But, just like time blocking, there has to be a trap. There's always a trap. What's the downside of the wall of sticky notes?
The lingering task.
Well, I know this one. It's the sticky note that starts to curl up at the edges and turn a pale, sad yellow because it's been on the board for 3 months.
That's the one. Because there is no specific time slot, there is no when. A difficult, unpleasant, or ambiguous task can sit in the to-do column forever. It lacks urgency.
Ah, so you can just cherry pick the easy stuff. I'll just do these 5 easy emails and move 5 tickets instead of start writing the hard annual report.
Precisely. You feel productive because you are moving lots of tickets, you're getting those dopamine hits, but you aren't actually tackling the elephant in the room. The most important work gets perpetually ignored.
And I imagine the board itself can become a problem if you're not careful.
Yes, complexity and clutter. If you don't groom the board, meaning you regularly review it, clean it up, archive old done tickets, it becomes a graveyard of old ideas and dead projects.
And then it just becomes noise.
It becomes wallpaper. Clutter can kill the effectiveness of Kanban. If the board is messy and overwhelming, your brain will start to ignore it and you're back at square one.
So we have the architect, who is structured but brittle, and the visualizer, who is flexible but can lack urgency. It's time for the showdown.
Let's do it. Let's put them head to head.
Okay, I'm going to throw some scenarios at you. Real-world situations.
Yeah.
You tell me which system wins, time blocking or personal Kanban. And don't just tell me the winner, tell me why the other one fails in that specific context. Ready? Scenario A, the procrastinator. This is the person who has a big, important deadline coming up, but they will clean their entire house, alphabetize their spice rack, and walk the dog for the 5th time before they even start working on it.
The verdict there is clear. Time blocking wins.
And why does Kanban fail the procrastinator?
Because the procrastinator needs the cage, they need structure forced upon them. If you give a procrastinator a Kanban board, that big, scary task will sit in the to-do column until the night before the deadline. It's too easy to avoid.
They'll find 100 small, easy sticky notes to do first to feel productive.
Exactly. They'll do everything but the important thing. Time blocking provides the necessary structure, and those mini deadlines we talked about. It says, no, you're not organizing spices now from 10 a.m. to noon. You are working on this report. It forces the start, which is the hardest part.
Okay. Scenario B, the overwhelmed worker. This person is stressed. They feel like they have a million things to do. They have 50 tabs open, and they are paralyzed by the sheer volume. They are basically hyperventilating at their desk.
That's an easy one. Verdict. Personal Kanban.
Why not time blocking? It seems like scheduling would help.
Because if you ask a person who is already overwhelmed and anxious to sit down and schedule every single minute of their next day, they will have a full-blown panic attack.
It's too much pressure. It feels like adding more work to the already overwhelming pile of work.
It does. Kanban wins here because its first job is to get the mess out of your head and onto a board. Just the act of writing everything down is calming. And crucially, the WIP limits reduce anxiety. It says, yes, you have 50 things to do, but right now you are only allowed to look at these 2.
It narrows the field of vision. It's like putting blinders on a horse so it doesn't get spooked by everything happening on the periphery.
That's a perfect analogy.
Okay, scenario C, the interruption-driven job. The IT support specialist, the executive assistant, the manager whose phone never stops ringing, and people are always at their door.
Verdict. Personal Kanban. Hands down, not even a contest.
And time blocking just breaks here, right?
Yeah.
It just shatters into a million pieces.
It completely shatters. You cannot budget your time if you don't own your time. If you block 9 to 10 for report and the server crashes at 9:055, your calendar is instantly useless for the rest of the day. Kanban is designed to flow with interruptions. You deal with the crisis, then you look back at the board and ask, okay, what's next?
Last one. Scenario D, the deep thinker. The academic researcher, the novelist, the strategist, the coder working on the core algorithm.
Verdict. Time blocking.
Because of the fortress.
Exactly. Deep thought requires protection. It's fragile. You need to carve out that space and defend it fiercely from the shallow administrative work that is always trying to invade. Kanban is great for moving tasks, but it doesn't inherently protect you from someone knocking on your door.
But a calendar event that says busy or focus time does.
It does. It says, I am unavailable to the world right now. That is a shield that Kanban doesn't provide.
This is really interesting, and it brings up a point from one of our sources, the DeepSeek analysis, which made a really sharp distinction here on how to choose between them.
Yes, this is a key mental model, and it's so helpful. DeepSeek suggests you ask yourself one question. Do I need to control my schedule, or do I need to manage my workload?
And based on the answer.
If the answer is you need to control your schedule, maybe because you're procrastinating or easily distracted, use time blocking. If you need to manage your workload because there's too much of it or it's unpredictable, use personal Kanban.
That's a subtle but powerful difference.
Yeah.
Controlling the hours versus managing the stuff.
Right. If the hours themselves are the problem, like you're wasting them, block the time. If the stuff is the problem, like there's too much of it or it's chaotic, map it out with Kanban.
And here is where it gets really interesting for me, and I think for most people listening. Do we actually have to choose?
Now we get to it.
Because life is rarely just one or the other. I have days where I need 2 hours of deep work, and then the rest of the day I'm just putting out fires. I'm a procrastinator in the morning and an air traffic controller in the afternoon.
That is the million-dollar question. And frankly, the binary choice, this versus framing, is a false dilemma.
As I was reading through these sources, Grok, Gemini, all of them, they all started pointing toward the same conclusion. The aha moment wasn't that one is better than the other, it's that they aren't mutually exclusive.
The sources overwhelmingly suggest that a hybrid approach is actually the most effective method for the modern knowledge worker. It's the synthesis.
So how does the hybrid work? How do we marry the architect and the visualizer without them getting in a fight?
You use them for different altitudes of your work. You think of them as layers. You use time blocking for the macro level, the broad structure of the day. And you use Kanban for the micro level, the specific content of the work.
Okay, I want to visualize this. It's Tuesday morning. I've got my coffee. I sit down at my desk. Walk me through the literal first 5 minutes of my day in this hybrid system. What am I looking at? What is on my screen?
Great question. Let's make it practical. Step 1, you open your calendar. The calendar is your landscape. It tells you when you are allowed to work and on what kind of work. You see a big 2-hour blue block from 9:00 to 11:00 that you created yesterday. It's just labeled focus time or deep work.
Okay, so I see the empty container, the bucket, but I don't know what specific task goes in it yet.
You might have a vague idea, but no, you haven't committed to a specific task name in the calendar 3 days in advance. That's too rigid. Now, step 2, you close the calendar and you look at the wall. Your Kanban board, physical or digital.
My menu of options for the day.
Your menu, exactly. You look at the to-do column, maybe there are 10 things there, but because you are using the hybrid method, you are looking for the card that best fits the energy of the focus time container. You aren't going to pick answer emails or book travel.
Right, because that's shallow work. That doesn't belong in a deep work block. That would be a waste of the fortress I've built.
A total waste. So you scan the list and you spot the card. Draft Q3 strategy document. That requires brain power. That fits the block. You pull that card from to-do into in progress. And now the magic happens. You have married the intention of the calendar with the reality of the board.
And what happens if my boss calls at 9:05 with an emergency?
This is where the hybrid system proves its worth. If you were just time blocking, your whole schedule would break. You'd feel like a failure. But here, you verify the urgency. If it's a true crisis, no problem. You take the strategy card and you calmly move it back to the to-do column. You create a new card for the crisis, pull it into in progress, and you handle it.
So the time block itself didn't change. I'm still in my protected focus time, but the content of that block shifted fluidly.
Precisely. You are still honoring the commitment to work deeply. You're just redirecting that focus onto a new, higher priority item. The time block protects the act of working, but the Kanban board dictates the what.
That solves both problems. It solves the rigidity problem of time blocking because the content of the block is flexible. And it solves the urgency problem of Kanban because the time to do the important work is scheduled and protected.
That is the sweet spot. You get the structure without the brittleness. You get the flexibility without the procrastination.
That really is the best of both worlds. It feels sustainable in a way that neither of them does on their own.
It is. And you can and should do this for the shallow work, too. We call this the admin block or the shallow work block.
Oh, I need an admin block. My email inbox is a war crime scene.
Everyone needs this. Schedule a 1-hour block at, say, 3:00 p.m. Call it admin. When that hour hits, you turn to your Kanban board. Maybe you have a column for small tasks or emails under 5 minutes, and you just churn through them. Rapid fire.
You could almost gamify it. See how many sticky notes you can move to done in those 60 minutes?
Exactly. You contain the chaos of administrative tasks to that 1 hour. This is vital because it stops the leaking of email checking into your deep work time. You know you have a block for it at 3:00 p.m., so you can ignore the inbox at 10:00 a.m. without anxiety.
This sounds great in theory, but let's get really practical for a minute. For the listener driving in their car right now thinking, okay, I want to try this, but I do not want to spend 3 days setting up a complex new system. How do they start tomorrow? We need low-friction implementation.
We do. Complexity is the enemy of execution. Keep it simple.
For the time blocking part, what's the easiest possible step 1?
Don't overcomplicate it. Do not go out and buy a fancy planner. Use your existing Google or Outlook calendar that's already on your phone and computer. And here's a great tip from the DeepSeek source. Start by blocking just 2 to 3 hours for your single most important task tomorrow.
Just one block, not the whole day.
Just one. Don't try to schedule your entire life in 15-minute increments on day 1. You will fail and you will hate it and you will give up. Just protect the most important thing. Protect the queen, so to speak. If you can defend 2 hours of deep work, you've already won the day, no matter what else happens.
Okay, I could do that. And for the personal Kanban side, do I need a giant whiteboard?
If you work in an office or a home office, a physical whiteboard with sticky notes provides immense tactile satisfaction. There is something about crumpling up a sticky note when a task is done that releases dopamine. It feels like a small victory.
It really does. Clicking a digital button just isn't the same visceral feeling.
It isn't. But if you are mobile or work in different locations, simple apps are great. Trello is the classic for this. Asana has a board view. Todoist does too. But the key is to keep it simple. 3 columns. To do, doing, done. That's it.
And the WIP limit.
And I cannot stress this enough. Set a limit on doing. Start with a limit of 3. Do not let yourself put a 4th card in that column.
If you have more than 3 things in doing, you are cheating the system and you're only cheating yourself.
You are lying to yourself. You are not actually doing all of them. You are just ignoring them in a different column.
I really like the idea you mentioned of the week test.
Yes. This is the experimental mindset you have to adopt. This isn't a religion, it's a tool. Try one method for a week, then try the other. But the key is to pay attention to the friction. Notice what feels annoying or difficult.
So what should they look for? What are the symptoms that tell you which system you lean towards?
If you are using Kanban for a week and you find yourself saying, I never have time for my important work, I'm just doing busy work all day, that's your sign. You need time blocking. You need the cage. You need the structure to protect that important work.
And the flip side.
If you are time blocking for a week and you feel, I have too many open loops, I'm anxious about forgetting things, my schedule keeps breaking, I feel suffocated, that's your sign. You need Kanban. You need the map. You need to see the whole landscape to feel calm.
It's about listening to your own brain's complaints and diagnosing the core problem. Productivity is not one size fits all. It is, in a way, self-discovery.
It is. It's psychology applied to yourself. It's about building a system that works for your brain, not against it.
Okay, we have covered a lot of ground here. We've watched the architect and the visualizer duke it out, and it seems like they decided to team up at the end. Let's bring it all home.
To recap, time blocking is the cage. It's the powerful tool that protects your focus from the distractions of the world. Personal Kanban is the map. It's the visual guide that shows you where you are going and where the traffic jams are.
And the best tool, or combination of tools, is the one that solves your specific pain point. Are you fighting procrastination, or are you fighting chaos? Your answer dictates your starting point.
That is the diagnosis you have to make for yourself.
Before we sign off, I want to leave the listener with one final thought, something to chew on as they go about their day.
If we zoom out and connect this to the bigger picture, we have to ask ourselves, what is the actual goal of productivity? Is the goal to simply do more things faster? Is it to become a more efficient machine?
That's usually how it's sold to us, right? Get more done in less time, 10x your output, be a robot.
But perhaps that is the wrong goal entirely. Perhaps the real goal is to have the clarity to know you are working on the right thing at the right time. Maybe the ultimate productivity hack isn't the tool, it's not the calendar or the sticky note. Maybe it is the permission you give yourself to limit your work in progress.
That's a radical thought in our culture of more is more.
It is. To look at a board with only 3 items in progress, or maybe just 1, and to say, I'm only doing this one thing right now, and that is enough.
That is enough. I like that. The permission to stop juggling. The permission to focus.
Exactly. The system, whether it's Kanban or time blocking or a hybrid, is just there to give you the courage to do that, to quiet the noise so you can finally do the work that actually matters.
Well, on that note, I think I'm going to go find some sticky notes and block out an hour on my calendar to reorganize my entire life. Thank you for guiding us through the ring today.
It's always a pleasure.
And to you, the listener, block some time, build your first board, and we'll see you in the next deep dive.